worth pointing out that when I was saying there that Anthony Fauci is not sure how the virus will perform against the vaccines, there is increasing evidence that boosters do help, though, and that seems to be where the UK is putting its emphasis right now. Tell us about the booster rollout, Sam. How important are boosters at this point?
Yes, good morning, Anna. So the main piece of evidence that we have so far is a study that the UK published. Based on very few cases, obviously the Omicron wave, if you want to call it that, hasn't really taken meaningful hold in terms of tens of thousands or 20, 30, 50, 60,000 types of infections. So you have to base it on a small number. And that data suggests that you get 70 to 75% protection against an infection by Omicron if you've had a booster about 2 weeks or so beforehand, and then from that. So that's the first piece of evidence that we've seen. Other than that, it's all been laboratory tests, looking at antibodies, etc. And that's only takes you so far.
Good morning, Sam. We're lacking a lot of clarity around Omicron, which is kind of the point you're making. I guess that the impression I get so far is that we now have high confidence that it's highly contagious and that vaccines are less effective against it. But we don't yet have much conviction in how serious it is in terms of illness or fatalities. What's your latest perspective on that? What's the latest information on that front?
Yeah, so the critical thing about how somebody responds to an infection is that it's me who responds to the infection. There are aspects of the virus that could change, but I think here we cannot divorce existing immunity with how the virus interacts with my body. So whenever we see estimates and analyses of severity of an infection and how severe it is, we have to take that into account, my age, my comorbidities, etc. So as this data builds, I'm hoping that we'll find that the immunity that people have got, either from a previous infection or triple vaccination, etc., is helping manage and reduce the severity. And I'm hoping that's what the South Africa data is actually telling us. But we need to see more than just out of South Africa. Nothing wrong with that data. That's a very special demographic that we can't just automatically translate to every other country. I'm hoping that we will have good control of hospitalizations and severity by triple vaccination.
And when do you think we get data that we can really rely on, Sam, around hospitalizations? Every geography is different, every context is different. You make that point really clearly. But I keep seeing, I think at the beginning of last week, I saw something that said, at the end of this week, we'll know more about South African hospitalizations. And then this week, I read the same. At the end of this week, we'll know more about what impact this is having on hospitalizations. What are the timeframes that really matter to you here?
Yeah, so what you need is a large enough number of people who've been infected, and then a long enough this time between the infections, and so say 4 weeks. So if, let's say, the wave started in South Africa about 3 weeks ago properly, then you need a sufficient volume of people to have been infected for you to be able to estimate what that means within 3 to 4 weeks. But whatever happens, Anna, that will end up being South African data. And that's important because they have a very young population, a lot of infections previously, a lot of beta infections. You know, we haven't had beta really take off in Europe and the UK. So what does that mean for us? So there's a lot of differences. From the UK perspective, I think the UK HSA, Health Security Agency, will be putting out data regularly. And I suspect we will have a good clue as to how this is doing in terms of severity and hospitalizations in the next, I'm going to keep saying it, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. Because currently, a lot of people who are being infected seem to be the younger people who don't tend to go to hospital.